My name is Aisha, and this is the story of how a single day, a random stranger, and a chance encounter changed the course of my life forever. It is not just about learning English. It's about rediscovering hope, finding courage, and realizing that sometimes the smallest moments can have the biggest impact. If you've ever struggled, felt stuck, or doubted yourself, this story is for you. I grew up in a small, quiet village surrounded by rolling fields and winding dirt roads. Life was simple, predictable, and confined to routines that never seemed to change. My parents, like most in our village, believed in practical education. To them, learning English was a luxury, not a necessity. My father would often say, "Why do you need English? We live here. Focus on what matters." But I saw English differently. To me, it was not just a language, it was a bridge. A bridge to books I couldn't read, music I couldn't understand, and conversations I longed to have. But my dreams of learning English were always met with challenges. At school, it was my weakest subject. I struggled to understand grammar, mispronounced words, and felt lost in every lesson. My classmates would laugh whenever I made a mistake. "Why do you even bother?" they'd sneer. Their words hurt, but what hurt more was the echo of their doubts in my own mind. There were days I wanted to quit, to give up entirely. But deep down, there was a tiny voice that refused to let me stop. It whispered, "You can do this." One afternoon, I found myself sitting on a park bench with my notebook open in front of me. The page was filled with crossed-out sentences, scribbles, and words that didn't make sense. I had been trying to translate a simple paragraph for hours, but nothing seemed to click. Frustration bubbled up inside me. "Why am I even trying?" I muttered, tears welling up in my eyes. It felt like all my efforts were pointless. And then, out of nowhere, he appeared. He was a man in his late 30s, dressed in a white shirt and jeans, carrying a worn leather satchel. He walked with a calm confidence, his steps unhurried, his face kind. As he passed by, he noticed me and stopped. "You look like you could use some help," he said, his voice steady and warm. I looked up, startled. His question was unexpected, almost unbelievable. Why would a stranger want to help me? "I'm trying to learn English," I admitted hesitantly, holding up my notebook as if it were proof of my struggle. "But I'm terrible at it." To my surprise, he smiled. "Well," he said, sitting down beside me, "today might just be your lucky day. Let's see what we can do." I stared at him, unsure if he was serious. "You don't even know me," I said, my voice barely audible. "Why would you want to help?" He chuckled softly. "Sometimes helping someone else helps you too," he replied. "Now, where should we start?" And just like that, my lesson began. "Tell me," he said, opening his satchel and pulling out a pen, "what's the most important thing you want to say in English?" I thought for a moment and said, "I want to introduce myself." He nodded and wrote down, "My name is Aisha. I live in a small village." "Say it," he encouraged, handing me the notebook. My voice shook, but I repeated the words. "Good," he said with a nod. "Now again." Each time I said it, my voice grew steadier. We moved on to questions. "Where are you from? How are you? What do you like to do?" He broke each phrase into smaller parts, explaining them patiently. "Language is like a puzzle," he said. "Once you understand the pieces, you can put them together in any way you like." For hours, we practiced. When I made mistakes, he corrected me gently, never once laughing or showing frustration. Each small success felt like a victory. But he didn't just teach me words. He taught me how to feel them. "English isn't just about grammar," he said. "It's about expressing yourself. It's about storytelling." He asked me to tell him about my life, my family, and my dreams. At first, I hesitated. My sentences were clumsy, my grammar flawed, and I stumbled over every other word. But he listened intently, nodding and encouraging me to keep going. Slowly, I began to relax. The words came more easily, and for the first time, I felt like I was being understood. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, he said, "Now let's work on confidence." He stood up and gestured for me to do the same. "Speak loudly," he said. "Don't worry about mistakes. Let your voice carry." We walked through the park, practicing sentences out loud. Passers-by glanced at us curiously, but I didn't care. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of being judged. By the time we returned to the bench, I was exhausted but exhilarated. "You've done well," he said, closing my notebook. "Remember, this is just the beginning. Keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, don't stop." As he prepared to leave, I realized I didn't even know his name. "Wait," I called out. "Who are you? Why did you help me?" He smiled, his eyes full of kindness. "Just someone who believes in second chances," he said before walking away. The next morning, I woke up feeling different. I practiced everything he had taught me, speaking to anyone who would listen. At first, people laughed. "Why are you trying so hard?" they'd ask. But I didn't care. For the first time, I felt like I was making progress. Weeks turned into months, and English became a part of my daily life. I joined online forums, started journaling in English, and even watched movies without subtitles. Each small step felt like a giant leap forward. I wasn't perfect, but I was improving, and that was enough. Looking back, I realized that Stranger didn't just teach me English. He taught me to believe in myself. He showed me that the first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. Today, I use English every day, in my job, in conversations, and in the books I read. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm stronger, braver, and more hopeful. If you're watching this and feeling like your dreams are out of reach, remember this: it's never too late to start. Sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one person, to change your life forever. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs a little encouragement today. Leave a comment about your own journey. What are you learning, and what are your dreams? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more stories of hope, resilience, and transformation. Together, let's take the first step toward a brighter future.